You're watching WCSD Cable Television from Calloway County High School.
Instructors help us in our everyday life with a number of tasks, whether it is with education or some sort of recreational purpose. We need their guidance because we would get nowhere without them. Even in the world of dance, instructors are a crucial part in the art of movement. I'm Sarah Hardy, and today on Calloway Connections, I'm interviewing Cheryl Cunningham about her career in teaching dance classes. You're watching Calloway Connections on WCSD Cable Television. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. So, with the first question, what type of dance do you teach?
We teach tap, ballet, jazz, tumbling, and point.
And I see you have some of the shoes here for
Yes.
your dance classes. So, could you elaborate which ones are the?
Yes. Now this is a tap shoe that a little one starts out in, and it of course has the taps on the toe and the heel. And this is a pretty generic type of tap shoe. As they get older, sometimes they graduate to a high heel or to a jazz style tap shoe. And then this is a ballet slipper that everyone uses when they start ballet. Some people think when they first start they go right into point shoes, but you have to, we like ours to be about 12 years old because you can ruin your feet if you go into point shoes too early, so we want their feet to develop. And when you go into a point shoe, this is a toe shoe or a point shoe. And it's pretty stiff, but actually what you have to do is actually beat it and soften it and bend it to be able to dance in it. Some people think there's wood in there, but it is not. It's a hard fiber, and they do use what we call a toe pad to put over the shoe to protect the toes in the point shoes. Professional dancers usually go through one pair of toe shoes per performance. Toe shoes are pretty expensive. They run anywhere from $50 up to 100 and something per pair. And then this is a jazz shoe. It's just an Oxford style. It's very soft and bendable, and that's what they wear for jazz.
That's very interesting. So, how often do you teach your classes?
Oh, I teach classes 5 and 6 days a week. Students start about an hour when they're younger, 1 day a week, and they graduate to more time period.
All right. And how many classes are there per week?
I probably teach, I'm going to say about 5 different classes a week, unless we have double classes going on. Sometimes some of the kids come in more than once a week. If they do competition, they come in sometimes 2 or 3, times a week for classes.
Amazing. So, what are the age ranges for these classes?
We actually start at 3 years old. I have some that call me when their children are about a year, and I'm like, well, we like them to be potty trained and be able to follow instructions. But at 3, we suggest they be around 3. Some kids are ready a little before 3, and some children aren't ready till they're a little bit older. We usually start them in an hour class, and we do about 20 minutes of tap and 20 minutes of ballet and 20 minutes of tumbling, so they don't get distracted and kind of tired of it. But then when they get a little bit older, we'll go into longer periods of class, or we'll add jazz into their classes. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a whole sort of schedule. It's not just ballet one class and then jazz next class. It's all mixed together.
Well, when we start the younger ones, we like to do what we call a combination class, which is the tap, ballet, and acrobatics, tumbling. And then as they get older, then we separate the classes into longer periods of time. And if they're not interested in like tap, they may just do jazz or ballet. But most of the kids like all of it. Yeah.
It's very good career to do. I've heard it's good exercise. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So, how long do these classes last per session?
We usually start classes in September, and we'll finish in May, first part of June. We usually let out for the summer and take a break. Sometimes we'll do a dance camp or special classes in the summer or work with competition kids. And then like I said, we usually start about after school starts, and then we run our season kind of like a school year.
That's really cool. It's kind of just with dance, not
Right.
education. Okay, so how many years have you been teaching dance?
Oh, I've been teaching probably over 30 years. I started dancing when I was 5 because my mom had taken me to the doctor and I was pigeon-toed. And the doctor said my feet weren't bad enough for corrective shoes, but suggested I put me in a ballet class. So she started the ballet class never knowing that this was going to be a lifetime effort. And so I loved it, and I've taken every year, and I just loved to dance and perform and make up routines. And when I was real young, I decided I really wanted to teach dance. It's all I ever wanted to do. Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to have a career planned out. Like, even if you're younger, if you already know what you're doing, it's kind of a good thing.
Yes, I actually started in high school. I started teaching in my mom and dad's house. And I had some kids that lived around that wanted to dance, and so I started teaching, and it just, I remember when I was in college, I was cheerleading, going to college, and I had my dance school, and I also took lessons and would go to New York and train with a private instructor up there. So I've always loved it. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. So, why did you decide to become a dance instructor?
Well, like I said, I always loved it. My cousin and I both took dance. We used to live in Michigan, and we've had many performances in our basement and garages and outside when we were little, and we just decided we were going to teach dance together and opened up a studio. Of course, my parents moved down here, and it was just something I always wanted to do, and so like I said, I started teaching in high school, and my business kept growing, and I built a studio, and then I was asked to come do some of the locations, and my business just grown through the years, and I've had lots of students. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back on Calloway Connections with Cheryl Cunningham, teaching us more about dance, just like she teaches her dance classes. So we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. My name is Sarah Hardy, and I am here with Cheryl Cunningham here on Calloway Connections talking more about dance. So, right back into the questions. I already said that. When did you come across instructing dance?
Sorry, what exactly do you mean? What?
When did you come across instructing dance? Like, when exactly did you come across being part of that, being able to teach it?
Like I said, I started when I was in high school, and I started out with about 7 students, and then I think the next year, kind of word got around that I was teaching, and so every year numbers increased, and people didn't want to always drive into Paducah or into Murray, so they had asked me would I come into Calvert City. So I think I started in Calvert City and in Metropolis when I was in college, and opened a studio there, and went from there.
That's amazing. So how did you start your career exactly? How did you get your whole studio started?
Well, like I said, I started teaching in my parents' basement, and I was kind of outgrowing that. So we were going to just put a room up out in a building we had, and then my dad said, well, why don't we just build a studio? So we actually just built a studio, and then when I was in Metropolis, I was renting for several years, and a building came open. It's about 3,000 square feet, and I purchased it, and I have my own studio in Metropolis and Smithsonian. And then I do rent in Calvert City and Ledbetter, just rent a building there and teach.
Yeah, and how do you manage to run all of those studios exactly?
Well, I put in a lot of hours, and I have some students who actually started with me when they were younger, and they've danced all these years, and as an adults, and they actually have kids of their own. They still dance with me, and some of them help me teach, and my sister also helps me teach, and I have 2 daughters that are in college, and they help me at times too. So I do have a lot of help. It's not, I don't do it all by myself. So.
Yeah, it'll be really hard to do it by yourself if you have so many studios.
Yeah.
All right, so is instructing dance more challenging than people would think?
Yes. And people ask me all the time, they're like, how do you work with children? I actually love working with children. I think especially toddler age, they're like little sponges. They just soak everything up, and they just fall in love with dance, and they love me, and they're just so much fun to teach. A lot of problems you have sometimes are with parents, that they maybe want to be in class with the kids, and they, instead of waiting out in the waiting room, which I understand as a parent, you want to watch your kids. So we do try to let them come in, but a lot of times the kids don't want to pay attention as much when parents are in there. Owning your own business is just self-employed is good, but it's not always good either. You can't just call in sick. You have to have someone to cover for you, and you don't have benefits and things like that. But on the whole, I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Little kids get so distracted easily.
Sometimes they do. Yeah, sometimes they do. But I always say I can deal with kids better than I can deal with adults, because at least children are learning, and you could push them in the right direction. So
yeah, children are easier to control than adults.
Yes, absolutely.
They have innocent minds.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So what information can you give us about the studio, such as class times, requirements, etc.?
Well, we have a Facebook page, and my number's on there. If they want to contact me or send me a message, we can give them information on our locations, prices, when we start classes, and things like that. We do have competition troops that, if they're interested in that, but we do like them to have a regular class, and then we add the competition on top of the regular classes. But that is also available. And we are in Calvert City and Ledbetter, Smithsonian, and Metropolis, Illinois.
Amazing. So where are your studios located? And you might have just answered this,
yes,
but where are your studios located?
Yes, they're in Smithsonian and Ledbetter, Calvert City, and Metropolis, Illinois. Sorry, I jumped ahead there.
And how many people from those different cities come in at once? Do you know the numbers?
I really only like to put at the most about 15 in a class. I think a good sized class is really 10 to 12 kids, where you can give them more personal attention, and I think they can get a little bit more out of the classes. Sometimes I have less, and sometimes we do have a few more than that, but I think that's a good number in a class.
Yeah, so is it like a balanced number of little kids and adults, or is it back and forth?
We try to put them in with age groups. Like a lot of times I'll do my 3 to 5-year-olds if they're a young 5 together. Maybe first, second, third grades together, 4 through 6, junior high and high school. And then I also do have college kids and adults that I also take. So we don't put the 3-year-olds with the adults. We let them have their own class with their own ages. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of something else, like necessarily, how many kids do you have to control necessarily, like, per studio, I suppose?
It just depends, and a lot of times it depends on the kids. Sometimes I need one older student to come in and stand with a younger one, because they have a little bit more harder time, learning. We also have taught a lot of different, with kids with different disabilities. I've had actually a child who was blind. I've had a child who was deaf. We've had a couple kids with Down syndrome. I had a child one time that had a nerve disorder, and she came in to help her muscles and stuff. So we do work with children that have disabilities and stuff too, and that's quite. I think it's challenging, but it's quite rewarding.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for joining me today because I know you took the time out of your day to come here. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me.
So this has been Sarah Hardy on Calloway Connections, and I just want to thank you for watching. Goodbye. Have fun.